Good afternoon. Almost got me. Wallpaper 4 for Wednesday, August 26th. 4 more players, 4 different sports. Today, we're going chronologically by the moment I'm using to hang each little story on. We start in 1992 with Curt Giles. And Curt Giles was already near the end of a long NHL career by the time he became a St. Louis Blues. A member of the St. Louis Blues. He was a 5'8" defenseman out of Manitoba. He was drafted by Minnesota in 1978, and most of his career belongs to the Minnesota North Stars. The Dallas Stars today. Giles was the kind of defenseman who stuck around because coaches knew what they were getting. Positional play, reliability, somebody who'd take care of his own end. He played on Minnesota teams that reached the Stanley Cup Final in 1981 and 1991. Excuse me. And here's a Curt Giles fact that's hard to forget. In 1986, he actually had part of his left ring finger amputated, so he could get back onto the ice for the playoffs. It's a different era. The Blues signed him late in the 1991-92 season, and on March 28th against Toronto, Giles scored what would be his only regular season goal as a Blue. St. Louis was down 3-1 in the third. Giles scored at 8:55, assisted by Jeff Brown, Craig Janney to make it 3-2. And they didn't complete the comeback, but that's our Curt Giles moment. He played 13 regular season games for St. Louis that year, then returned for 48 more in 92-93 before retiring. Overall, he played 895 games and finished with 242 points. Now we move forward 3 years. Carlos Rogers had 1 season with the Golden State Warriors, and it happened during one of the stranger transitional years in franchise history. Seattle took Rogers 11th overall in the 1994 draft out of Tennessee State. He'd averaged 24.5 points and 11.5 rebounds as a senior. Then he never played for Seattle because a few weeks after the draft, the Sonics sent Rogers and Ricky Pierce to Golden State in a deal that involved Sarunas Makaronis and Brian Houston. So Rogers arrives as a 23-year-old, 6'11" rookie on a Warriors team that's coming apart around him. Chris Webber gets traded, Don Nelson steps down, Golden State goes 26-56. But in the meantime, Rogers gets legitimate playing time. 49 games, 18 starts, 8.9 points, and 5.7 rebounds per game while shooting 53%. April 4th against Phoenix is probably the cleanest Carlos Rogers Warriors game to grab. The Suns were 51-22, but Golden State still beat them, 122-114. Rogers started at center and gave the Warriors 22 points, along with 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 38 minutes. He went 7 for 13 from the floor and 8 for 12 at the line. Chris Mullin had a triple-double, and Donyell Marshall scored 28. Rogers was right there with him, and that 22 points tied his rookie season high. Then he was gone. Before the next season, Golden State packaged Rogers along with Victor Alexander in the trade that brought B.J. Armstrong from the Toronto Raptors, an expansion team at the time. So 1 season, 49 games, that's the entire Warriors chapter. Next up is January 2nd, 2000. This one's weird. Bryan Stoltenberg was an offensive lineman, so we're not going to manufacture a touchdown or a highlight that doesn't exist. Instead, I'm putting him directly into one of the strangest final Sundays in Panthers history. Stoltenberg had been a consensus All-American center at Colorado. San Diego took him in the 6th round in 1996. He spent a year with the Giants. Carolina picked him up in 1998. Stoltenberg was useful because he could play everywhere inside: center, left guard, right guard. And by the final game of the 1999 season, he was starting at right guard. And Carolina entered January 2nd still alive for a wild card, but involved in this bizarre tiebreaker situation with Green Bay, where point differential in conference games could determine who moved on. So the Panthers weren't just trying to beat New Orleans, they were trying to bury them, and they did. Carolina won 45-13. Steve Berline threw 5 touchdown passes. The Panthers kept scoring because they had to keep scoring, while Green Bay was simultaneously doing the same thing to the Cardinals. Stoltenberg started at right guard on an offense that put up 45 points. Carolina lost the point differential race to Green Bay by 11 points, and then Dallas won later that day and took the playoff spot from both of them. So that's one of those NFL afternoons that basically couldn't happen under today's tie-breaking setup. Stoltenberg played 42 games for Carolina from 98 through 2000, with 18 starts at the 3 interior line positions. And there's a sad ending to his story. Stoltenberg died in 2013 from complications following injuries suffered in a traffic accident. He was only 40. The Panthers remembered him as somebody who represented the organization well, and his entire NFL career totaled 50 games. So Bryan Stoltenberg isn't a Panther because of one spectacular play. He's one of the guys in the machinery underneath a game like that. 45-13 day. And finally, we jump to 2022. First, his name is Ryne. R-Y-N-E. And yeah, there's a reason. He was named after Ryne Stanek, even though Stanek grew up in a St. Louis Cardinals family. Stanek had already helped popularize baseball's opener role in Tampa Bay before Houston signed him prior to the 2021 season. And his first Astros year was useful, but his second was something else. In 2022, Stanek made 59 appearances, 54 and 2/3 innings, 7 earned runs, only 7. And on October 5th, in Houston's final game of the regular season, Stanek threw a clean 7th inning and finished the year with a 1.15 earned run average. That set the Astros single-season franchise mark for a relief pitcher, breaking Will Harris's 1.50 from 3 years before. For a relief pitcher, earned run average can get wrecked by one bad inning. Stanek basically avoided that inning for 6 months. He allowed 2 home runs all season and held hitters to a 188 average. Then he was part of the 2022 championship bullpen. Houston didn't need to use him that heavily in October because that pitching staff was so deep. But he still made 4 scoreless postseason appearances as the Astros won the World Series. He stayed in Houston through 23. 3 Astros seasons, 186 games, 2.90 earned run average, and 1 ring. And that 1.15 in 2022, that's the number that makes his little piece of Astros history somewhat permanent. So that's today's 4. Curt Giles, 1 late career Blues goal, 1992. Carlos Rogers, 22, 9, and 7 against Phoenix during his 1 season with Golden State. Bryan Stoltenberg, starting up front during Carolina's bizarre 45-point playoff tiebreaker chase, the unsuccessful one, and Ryne Stanek, 1.15 earned run average, and Astros franchise record on the way to a championship. That's your 4 for August 26, 2026. I change the wallpaper every day. I'm Kevin. I hope to see you tomorrow for 4 more dudes. And like, subscribe, and comment. Hey, thanks for watching. I change the wallpaper every day. I'm Kevin. I hope to see you tomorrow for 4 more dudes. And like, subscribe, and comment. Hey.